Hi, everybody. I'm Pratibha Agarwal. I'm an immigration attorney. I'm based outside of Washington, D.C. in Arlington, Virginia. My clients, however, are all throughout the United States. We can help you no matter where in the U.S. you are located. Okay, we can help you no matter where in the U.S. you are located. If you're wondering, how is that possible? It's because immigration law is a federal practice. So as long as you're an attorney in good standing in one state in the U.S., you can advise clients all throughout the United States. We actually also have clients that are international. So some of our clients join us from abroad, reach out to us from abroad, from India, from different places, and we're able to advise them on U.S. immigration issues. We only practice U.S. immigration law. Okay, so we don't practice anything outside of U.S. immigration law, only U.S. immigration law. But within immigration law, I handle employment-based applications where we're talking about work visas and green cards for people based on work. We help with family-based applications where people are sponsoring siblings, they're sponsoring parents and children, and essentially that's it. Spouses, right? Spouses, right? Parents, children, spouses. Evan says, I asked a question but never heard anything about it. I'm not sure where you asked your question, Evan. If you want to put it on here, I'm happy to answer it for you. Okay, so go ahead and put your question on here and I will respond to you live. I hope you're doing well. Just know that the information that we provide here is not confidential, right? We have many people streaming on different platforms. I'm here to answer immigration questions, but what I'm providing is general. So if you have a complication in your immigration history, I would recommend scheduling a consultation with our firm. You can do so at 703-348-1663. Again, that's 703-348-1663. This is really an opportunity for you and others watching to put your questions in. If you know people that have immigration issues that haven't yet been able to ask that question, make sure you let them know. You share this post with them. And if you haven't already followed our page on TikTok, liked our page on Facebook, make sure you do that so you can be notified every single time I go live. You can be notified and pop on and learn about immigration law, but also hopefully get some of your questions answered. All right. And say hi if you say hi. Hi, Phil. Nice to see you. Say hi if you haven't already. Tell me where you're from. Say hello. I would love to see who's watching and from where, and get to know you, because sometimes people call me for a consultation and they'll say, I'm so and so from your live. I asked this question, and it's always really nice. I very much appreciate it. I very much appreciate the people that are watching and that are supporting our firm, and also people that are interested in immigration law and learning and putting questions and being active on here. So thank you for joining me again. I'm going to start off with a question. I always start off with a question that comes up in our practice and that I think will be helpful to you. So it's additional information about just various types of cases. Okay, so this is one of our case types. It's a humanitarian case type. So it's for victims of abuse. So people that are usually married to U.S. citizens or green card holders, and they're being abused by their spouse. So it's not always physical abuse, and that's something that people get confused on. It can be emotional abuse, of course. Physical abuse is sometimes present as well. But in many cases, we have green cards based on abuse that are approved without any evidence of physical abuse. It's usually emotional, verbal, psychological abuse in those types of cases. Okay, so this is the case type that I'm talking about right now, and that is a case that we work with often. People get work permits. If you're married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, they're unwilling to help you with the green card, or they're abusive in that relationship. You can qualify for work authorization usually in about 6 to 8 months, and a green card in about 2 to 2.5 years. Okay, so this is one of our most popular case types. And if you know people that might be interested in this, I would suggest that they call our firm for consultation at 703-348-1663. Again, that's 703-348-1663. Hi, Jason. Nice to see you. Go ahead and tell me where you're from. Say hello. Some of you I know already, but say hello and tell me where you're from if you're just joining me for the first time. So I'm going to start off with a question that comes up often in our practice, and it is, for people that are victims of abuse that are applying for green cards on their own. So usually they're married to US citizens or green card holders, and their spouse they have problems in their marriage, and it qualifies as emotional abuse, sometimes physical, sometimes verbal, financial abuse. Usually more than one type of abuse is present, okay? And one of the things we supply, many times the person has access to their spouse's citizenship documents. If they're a citizen or a green card holder, many times the person we're trying to help live with their spouse, and they're able to pull their naturalization application, their naturalization certificate, or their birth certificate from their files at home, and they're able to provide it. Other times, however, they no longer live with their spouse. They've been abused by their spouse, they're separated, the spouse has moved out, and they have no access to this person's documents, immigration documents. So there's no way to prove that they're a green card holder. There's no way to prove for them. They have no paper saying that this person is a US citizen, right? We're looking either for a birth certificate or for a green card holder, a green card, okay? For those that don't have US citizenship yet. All right, so if you don't have that document, some people ask, if you don't have documents confirming that your spouse is a US citizen or a green card holder, can I still apply for VAWA? And the answer is yes, you might still be eligible to apply for VAWA. If you can get documents, that's the best, right? If you can get documents, that is the absolute best thing. However, if you can't get documents, don't let that prevent you from applying for a VAWA application, right? Number one, what I would want you to do is confirm that this person is a green card holder, or confirm that this person is a US citizen, because you don't want to waste that time applying for that if you're on the fence about the citizenship status or the green card status of your spouse. If you can confirm that, if you know that for 100% sure that you have seen their US passport, that you have seen that green card at some point, and know that 100% sure, then we can ask the government to confirm citizenship status. You can apply without actually providing documents based on documents evidencing your spouse's citizenship. So that is something that's really important to know, because sometimes people hold off on applying because of lack of documents for their spouse. Right, lack of documents for their spouse's citizenship status. Sometimes people are afraid that they're going to get denied. You know, you can always get denied, but in terms of providing evidence of citizenship, that alone, we can ask the government to verify only if you're 100% certain. I don't want you to do this application if you're not 100% certain, or if you don't have those documents. Okay. All right, I hope that is helpful to some folks. Hi, Doris, nice to see you. Thank you for joining. Evan says, I met a lady in my country 4 years ago, and she opened up to me that she used to be a green card holder, but her ex used her to bring in a luggage, which ended up containing drugs without her knowledge. She was arrested in jail for a while, and her green card was revoked, and she was deported, banned, and it has been over 16 years. Does she have any chance of coming back? So there is a way to apply for admission after being removed, right? So there may be other ways for her to come back to the US. She would have to maybe apply for her green card again. She would have to show rehabilitation. There may be ways for her. I don't know where she's located. If she's located outside the country, we have to really explore some options and see how she could come back in. But people that have been deported, there are sometimes ways for them to come back into the country, especially when it's been something like 16 years, right? If she's already been outside the country for over 10 years, there may be a way for her to reapply for permission. Basically, you can apply for permission to reapply, and she might qualify for that. So there may be a way, and I'd be happy to chat with her about it. This is complicated, and it's going to depend on that person's circumstance, okay? And I'm sorry that happened to her, but you can give her our contact information. I'd love to have a consultation with her. We're doing them by Zoom, by phone, and in person. Our phone number is 703-348-1663. Again, that's 703-348-1663. And you can call us not between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern. You can call now, and if we miss your call, we'll give you a call back tomorrow. All right. I'd love to chat with you again by phone, in person, or by Zoom. And Zoom is our most common way of conducting consultation. So I love to do that. I love to do consultations by Zoom. All right. I'm going to answer some of the questions that are popping up here. Sam has a question, but I can't see your question. Sam, I just see, this is what I see, Sam, if you're still watching. I see, how long are the wait times because of COVID? But I don't know what you're talking about. Marcos, thank you for the compliment. Thank you for joining. I eat bats for breakfast. I love some of these usernames sometimes. Someone is saying, can you marry me for a green card? That's illegal. You shouldn't marry anybody for a green card. And I'm married already. Yeah, Evan says, thank you. You're welcome, Evans. Marco says, documents for my wife to show the real marriage, like photo. Can you tell us more, please? Yes, absolutely. That's a really great question. So when you apply for a green card, right, when you apply for a green card based on marriage, what you have to do is show that it is a real marriage and it's not just for immigration purposes, right? So if you're applying for a green card based on marriage, one of the things you have to prove is that it's a real marriage and it's not just for immigration purposes. And so for each couple, that might look different, right? It might look a little bit different depending on your particular marriage and how things kind of work in your marriage. But I can tell you some of the strongest documents in this type of green card case. So what you want to include are things, what I like to include are things like showing joint residence. So if you bought a house together and both your names are on a mortgage, that's really helpful. If you live in an apartment and you have both your names on the lease, make sure it's a signed lease. This is something that USCIS is coming back with more and more often and asking for more and more often. So a signed lease, for example, for an apartment, and then maybe showing rent payments that are being made. Speaking of sort of financial transactions, maybe a bank account, showing that it's being used. You just don't want to have a bank account that you're putting $1,000 in and no one's ever using, right? You want to show that it's an actual account that's being used where money is coming in from both parties and it's being paid for, things are being subtracted by both parties, okay? Maybe joint credit cards, if you have that, putting both your names on a credit card and seeing that there are actual transactions happening. Then other just creative ideas are things like, are you listing your spouse as a life insurance beneficiary, as an emergency contact at work? Photographs, of course, are helpful. We also get statements from friends and family that were at your wedding or that know you as a couple or that have vacationed with you or spent time with you. Joint travel itineraries. So if you've traveled together, somewhere and you can show your ticket, both of your tickets, or you book that ticket together, that can also be very helpful. And I think I already mentioned photographs, but it's photographs with other people, right? So not just the two of you, but maybe parents and other friends. So these are all great pieces of evidence for something like a bona fide marriage. So you'll want to have that evidence when you first apply. So you want to send photocopies when you first apply for the application. Then when you go for that green card interview, you want to have updated evidence of bona fide marriage. So that could be new pictures or new things that happen, like your tax return that you file now as a married couple, which maybe you didn't for the previous year because you hadn't been married long enough, or you hadn't been married at the time you were filing your taxes. So different things like that you just want, or maybe you have a new bank account or you bought a new car or anything like that, that shows your status, or that you're both listed on there. Evan says, can you please give your phone number again? Absolutely. It's 703-348-1663. Again, that's 703-348-1663. All right, great. And again, I'm answering questions. Let me see here. Yep, I think I've gotten through all the questions, and I completely appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining me. If you don't already like us on Facebook, Marco says, thank you. Thank you very much. You are awesome, but she is in Africa and we don't have a joint account. Okay. Yes, that can be difficult, especially when your spouse is outside the country. I'm seeing some other questions here. Okay. That is very, very, possible. So, okay, so for people that are outside the country, right? So if you're in the U.S., your spouse is abroad, what can you show as evidence of joint, of being married, of a bona fide marriage that's real? So what I would do What I would do, Evans, I will get to that in just a second. If you're on Facebook, you can look at the screen that's on the screen. Okay. All right. So what I would do if your spouse is abroad and you need to show evidence of a bona fide marriage, you could do things like if you had a wedding or engagement rings, you could show receipts of those rings or that jewelry or gifts that you brought each other. If you had a wedding and you had an invitation, you could show the invitation. Again, joint travel, if you've traveled together, even if you went to visit your spouse in that country, you could show that itinerary. Of course, lots of photographs, statements from friends and family. That should all be, strong evidence. You want to have a good number of pieces of evidence, especially when your spouse is abroad, to show that it's a real relationship. Even if maybe letters, text messages, chat messages, if you want to screenshot those and show that, maybe your telephone bill to show how much you're talking to each other. There's many ways, many creative ways to come up with enough evidence to show that you are in a real marriage and it's not just for immigration purposes. So people that are in a real marriage that is not just for immigration purposes will not have trouble showing this, right? It's just a matter of figuring out what exactly will work in your situation. Okay, if we can help you with that, give us a call, 703-348-1663. Evans, I hope you got that, 703-348-1663. Okay. Milika is saying, what can I do if I'm in constant fear of someone threatening to call ICE to report? Right? That is not uncommon. That is not uncommon, unfortunately. It happens quite a bit. So number one, if you're married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder and you're getting into fights with them and they're threatening to call ICE to report you, that is a form of abuse, and you can apply for a green card completely without their help, on your own, completely on your own, without that person even being involved or helping, right? So if you're married to a green card holder or a U.S. citizen that gets into fights with you and then threatens to get you deported, then absolutely you are 100% able to apply for a green card on your own. I don't want to say 100%. I should say it's just going to depend on your situation, but you have a very strong case in being able to apply on your own without your spouse at all, without any involvement for your spouse at all. So what would happen is you would get work authorization in about 6 to 8 months and a green card in about 2 to 2.5 years. Again, this is just informational and I want to make sure that you qualify. So give us a call, schedule a consultation if we can help you with that. We're at 703-348-1663. Again, that's 703-348-1663. All right, I think you got the number. Milika, I hope to hear from you. If you are not, for example, if you are not married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, and your spouse perhaps or someone is threatening to call ICE to report you, Milika is saying, I live with someone who's always threatening me, so I don't know what their status is. But if there's domestic violence, for example, you might be eligible to qualify for what's called a U visa, right? U visa is for victims of crime. So essentially, domestic violence will qualify if someone is, violent towards you, threatens you, and is harming you. You might be able to qualify for a U visa. A U visa, however, requires that you report to the police. Whereas if you're married to a green card holder or a U.S. citizen and they are abusive towards you, you do not need to provide a police report. That's the difference, right? It depends on who is the abuser in this situation. Some cases, if there's domestic violence, you have to provide, in order to qualify for status based on the abuse, you would have to report that incident to the police, and you might be eligible for what's called a U visa, which would lead to a green card, which would lead to citizenship. So it's a big, big benefit. However, if you're married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, you don't need to report that to the police. You can still apply on your own without your spouse and get work permit and ultimately green card in about 2 to 2.5 years. Work permit comes much earlier, in about 6 to 8 months. So I would very much, suggest, depending on your situation, give us a call and see what we can do for you, right? See what we can do for you based on the status of that person. But if you're living in constant fear, you don't have to. You absolutely don't have to. Give us a call and see if there's a way for us to help you. But we might be able to help you if you are experiencing abuse. Okay, 703-348-1663. Again, that's 703-348-1663. If you call now and nobody answers, that's because our office is only open till 5 p.m. Eastern time. However, go ahead and call, leave a message, and we will give you a call back tomorrow. Okay, we'll give you a call back tomorrow. We're open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time, and we will very much love to chat with you about your immigration case. Okay. All right. Nityananda is saying, hi, good morning from Bangladesh. I want an American visa. Can you help me? Yes, absolutely. We help lots of people with American visas all the time. If you want a tourist visa, we can definitely talk to you about how that process works, and what you need, and the way to make a strong case when you go into the consulate or the U.S. Embassy where you apply for that visa. Okay. All right, Milika says, I live with someone who has always threatened me. All right, Milika, if that person, as I mentioned, is a green card holder or U.S. citizen, it's one method and one track. If they're not a green card holder or U.S. citizen, you may still be eligible, but just give us a call and we can walk you through that process. Okay. Evan says, I'll be calling you in the morning. Thank you so much. Absolutely, Evans. I look forward to speaking with you. Just so you know, we're doing our consultations again by Zoom, by phone, or in person. So we're located right outside of Washington, D.C. in Arlington, Virginia. And if you want to come in, I would love to see you in person. If you would rather do it by phone or by Zoom, I'm happy to do that as well. Milika says, my spouse and I are both being threatened. I'd love to chat with you and see what options there are for you. Okay. Let's see. Melika says, thank you for the information. I greatly appreciate it. Absolutely. You're absolutely welcome. I hope to get to chat with you at the office again, 703-348-1663. Let's see. Sam says, I have a work permit for 5 years. Is it possible for a green card? So depending on what your work permit is based on, you might be eligible for a green card, right? I don't know how if you had it based on asylum, you might be eligible for a green card, but work permit, remember, guys, it's not, you don't just apply for it on your own. It's based on something else, right? It's based on another kind of application. Okay. Marco says, thank you. You're welcome. Sunny in Seattle says, it's been 6 months and no PR card. I don't, you can call USCIS and let them know that you never received the card. They will give you a tracking number. They'll give you a tracking number and you can track that and see where it went. And then, if it went to the wrong place, maybe you can go and pick it up, or they can always reissue you a new card. There's an option for lost or stolen green cards. Okay. Jay says, can you tell me the I-485 marriage-based case process times in Atlanta? I don't have these memorized. I'm so sorry. He says, please don't tell me to check online. You have to check online because I don't have them memorized. There's so many. There's Texas, there's Chicago, there's Vermont, there's so many, Nebraska. So I can't answer that because I don't have it memorized. But I can tell you if it's a normal I-485 marriage-based green card, at least for us, it's taking about 1.5 years or so. All right, for processing. So that's average processing time. I don't know how long yours has been pending, but you do want to check online. I know you don't want me to say that, but that's all I can say to you right now. I can't check for you, Jay. I'm sorry. All right. Anyway, thank you everybody for joining me. I'm going to say it's about 1.5 years. Miriam Sun says, can you change status on a C1 visa? Yes, so C1 visa is for crewmen, usually transit. It's like a transit visa. So people on that are working on airplanes or they're working on ships, they are usually issued a C1 visa. So sometimes people jump that ship or they come into the US on the C1 visa and then they never leave. And there are certain rules preventing them from getting a green card if they get married. Or things of a different need, or essentially applying for something else, applying for a change of status because this is like a transit visa. We have helped multiple people on this kind of visa and we've helped them get green cards. So it really depends on your situation. If you want to give us a call, I can answer that question for you. Okay. And I want to see if you're married. Maybe your marriage might qualify you to apply for a green card, right? Even though you entered on a C1 visa. Give us a call and we can chat with you more about the details and see how you might qualify. Okay, 703-348-1663. All right, everyone. I think we got through all the questions for today. I hope that this was helpful to you. If you don't already like us, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on TikTok. My handle is at Agarwal Immigration. Okay, it's at Agarwal Immigration. My name again, if you've missed it in the beginning, is Pratibha Agarwal. I'm an immigration attorney based outside of Washington, D.C. Clients are all throughout the United States, and if you have any kind of immigration question, I would suggest scheduling a consultation with our firm. We're doing them by phone, Zoom, and in person. And I would love to chat with you about your immigration case and see what options there are for you. And we'll go through all of the processes that are involved in attaining your immigration goal. Okay, thanks so much. Look forward to speaking with you soon. Bye. Have a good evening.